I spent 23 years living in addiction. 16 of those years I worked as a Red Seal tradesperson in Saskatchewan and Northern Alberta. During that time, I made many mistakes and took more than a few hard knocks. I went from tradesman to business owner to hiding from gang members and dumpster diving. But with that lived experience, I've decided to try and make a change. I've dedicated my life to raising awareness and promoting change in the fields of substance use and psychological health and safety. So join me and my guests as we take off the blinders around mental health in our communities and at work and shine a light on what's working and what's not working in the fields of mental health and occupational health and safety. I'm Daniel Unmanageable, and I'll be your host, and this is Hard Knox Talks.
What's up, everybody? My name is Daniel Unmanageable, and welcome to Hard Knox Talks. Tonight's guest has had an interesting life, from ADHD to women is all I see to holy shit, everybody's looking at me. It is my honor to present to you Mr. Anthony Tullo. What's up, Anthony?
Hi, Daniel. How are you? Hey, how you doing?
Well.
Good to be here.
Good, excellent. So let's dive in. Why don't you tell us a little bit about what it was like growing up for you?
Well, growing up for me as a kid was tough. It's always tough when you have two parents who you love but don't really love each other, so to speak. Just don't get on. So, and you're caught in the middle of that. So that was tough. The kids always take the brunt of the fighting, the negativity, and all of the above. So it was tough. And it took a toll on me as well. I had a father who I have a great relationship with now. But back then, we clashed and knocked heads a lot, and he expected a lot, and I felt I couldn't deliver. And I found out later why. A lot of the reasons why I couldn't really deliver what I wanted and do what I wanted to do came from my ADHD. So.
Mm-hmm. So would you say that the way your dad treated you had an impact on your mental health? Like what were some of the things that were going on? Did you have a reasonably happy childhood?
I think that every son wants to impress their dad. It's sort of just innate. You always want to impress your dad, and your mom loves you no matter what you do. You could
That's true.
Mess up, she'll love you. But your dad, there's always that thing where you want to impress him, and I remember just struggling to impress him, whether it would be playing soccer or Italians always got into the accordion, an instrument that I really didn't want to play. And I remember I couldn't read music, and he was always wondering why, and I didn't know why, and I was struggling playing by ear, and just remember being I was a very sensitive kid, and the very sensitivity that made me the artist I am was the same thing that allowed me to get depressed or have ADHD just destroy me. If that makes any sense.
Yeah. So did you, like, moving into your teenage years, when did you start to notice that something was different about the way you were seeing the world or in your emotions?
Well, when I hit, I just remember when I hit prior to high school, I had 2 years where I was bullied a lot, and I I've got to credit my strength to talk about this a little bit to George St. Pierre, the GSP from the UFC. He's somebody I really admire, look up to, and he talked about how he was bullied a lot, and I thought, wow, and his story was similar to mine, and so I felt, wow, I did take a lot of bullying when I was in the 7th grade, the 8th grade, and it led right into high school where I was really a sensitive kid, did not have any, didn't seem to have any ability to stand up for myself. I did have, women were always interested in me, which gave me a little bit of that self-esteem, however, the guys weren't. And I remember I never did well in school either, and I couldn't understand it. I thought I was stupid. I thought, why is it I'm putting in so much effort, but I'm not able to get the marks that everybody else is getting? And I really, at the time, no one knew about it, ADHD. No one knew about that. It was like, you're not studying hard enough. And I said, sure I am. Mm-hmm. But what do you want me to do when I go to read a book and I can only remember 1/10 of the book and the rest of it is just over my head? I couldn't remember it. I couldn't remember formulas. So I didn't understand what was going on, and I started becoming depressed because of it. It was starting to take a real toll on me, and my only saving grace was that I had women in my life that were interested in me, so I gravitated to them,
So did you find that you were hanging out with a lot of women, and you just sort of stuck with what felt good? Like how old were you when that started happening?
Well, I was in 9th grade, beginning of high school, and that's when I started getting a lot of attention from women. And because I couldn't understand myself and what was going on with me, and why I wasn't able to do well in school, and why I wasn't able to follow through and impress my dad, or just everything was just I just got a lot of gratification from women because they liked me and it felt good, and I felt important. They gave me, my self-esteem went up. But I just found that although that was true, I couldn't escape the depression. The depression just grew, and it's hard to explain. And then I started getting into a little bit of the drinking, and I remember I had maybe 1 or 2 guy friends that we'd go out with, and the rest of the time I was always with a girlfriend. But I remember I got my first taste of drinking alcohol, and it was an escape, and I thought, okay, I was petrified of drugs. I just wasn't ever going to do drugs. Never. But alcohol, my dad drank wine. He drank a lot. My dad, was always drinking.
That was just the normal thing to do, right?
Yeah. It was like, okay, that's cool. Yeah. And I'd indulge in that. And I remember one specific night, a friend of mine picked me up and had a lot to drink prior to getting into the car. We went to Clarkson, and we got to Clarkson, and back then, we just parked the car. It wasn't like now. We parked the car and we grab our booze and look out for cops, and we drink some more. And so that's what we did.
Clarkson? What's Clarkson? I'm a Saskatchewan boy, man. Help me out here.
Oh, sorry. Well, Clarkson is a town near Oakville, like where I'm from. It's basically Oakville, Mississauga, and part of Clarkson. So there was a supposed club or bar there that we wanted to attend. Mm-hmm. So parked the car. I remember we drank some more, and I remember being in line, and I couldn't remember even getting in the club. All I remember is we were in the club. And I remember a buddy of mine was kissing some girl, and some other guy came up to her and him, and was trying to pull my friend off, and I stopped him and I said, "What are you doing? You know, I mean, she's not your girl. Leave him alone. This and that." And it's almost as if 4 or 5 hours went by in a blink of an eye, and all of a sudden my friends had left me. I'm going toward the exit, and there's about 8 guys waiting for me. And the one guy pulled off. My friend was the leader. And I could see that at least 4 of them had knives. And I was standing there, and the first thing that hit me as I was starting to sober up was, where are my friends? They just left me there. So I remember thinking that night I probably was going to die, because there's 8 of these guys. 4 of them have knives. There's one of me. You know, how am I going to get out of here? Everyone else was out of there. So I remember the guy wailing off on me. He slapped me or something like that, or he tried to anyway. And he made some comment, and I just stood still. I didn't move a muscle. I just stood there. And everything in me wanted to hit him. And if I hit him, I probably would have killed him. I was so angry. But I thought, if you do that, you're going to die. And I just stood there, and he let me go. And then when I went outside, my guys picked me up, and they were embarrassed that they had left me there. I went home, and I just remember feeling low, feeling betrayed, and depression got worse. And it wasn't like I was, you know, turning to alcohol a lot, but the depression got worse, and
So
I just felt alone.
when you were going through your teenage years and into the time that you just spoke of, did you know, like, did you realize that you were like trying to escape something inside you? Like, or was it just like, oh, these women make me feel good, I'm going to go there?
I didn't think I was trying to escape anything. I just felt like these girls like me, and I like being liked, and I like being loved, and I like feeling good, and I'll take it, you know, because I mean, at least without that, I felt alone. To be honest, I felt very alone. And my music was there, you know. My music never left me. But
so, okay. So, how old were you when you started, like, did you start writing music in your teenage years?
no, I wanted to be an actor. So
Okay.
I got heavily involved in acting, and I did go to Sheridan College with the intention to be a serious professional actor. And I did, you know, I just remember being scared to go to anywhere. I suffered from anxiety. I started suffering from anxiety, which was crippling. And looking back, it was because when you don't have your self-confidence and then you're depressed, anxiety seems to be the next step that takes over. It just comes and takes you over, and it sort of freezes you and doesn't allow you to spread your wings, you know?
It's like going 100 miles an hour standing still.
Yeah. It kind of just renders you in a state of fear and helplessness. Very hard to explain. And I almost didn't go to college, but I was always the type of individual to fight through it, you know, and fight through it as much as I could. And I went, and to my surprise, things started changing slowly. I started feeling like I could do well. I started feeling like I'm capable, and I started getting involved in the martial arts. I got involved in the martial arts, and I got involved with one particular lady, without mentioning any names, that also became a big problem for me, because again, I was depending on someone else helping me, being there for me, who in retrospect wasn't. Just wasn't able to help me and was using me. She was attracted to me. She liked the idea of having me come to her. She was in a position of power. She had her own TV series, and it took me a long time to realize what was going on. I was blind for a lot of my 20s.
So let's back up a minute here. What happened? Okay, you wanted to get into acting. You went to a school for acting, correct?
Yes, correct.
Yes. So what happened there? Like what happened there?
I didn't like the school because the school was about music theater, and I'm an actor and a rock singer, a rock country singer. So the idea of putting on ballet shoes and doing jazz was pathetic to me. I didn't want to do any of that.
Did you do that?
Yeah, I had to do a little bit of that.
Did you do that?
I had to do a little bit of that. Yeah, I did.
I know you did, because I've got some tape of it right here. Check this out.
No.
I'm just kidding.
No way. Yeah, I of course I took part in whatever I had to do, and I was doing very well, but it just wasn't the school for me. So I ended up
I certainly don't mean to make fun of ballet and of the arts, because I know that it's a very respected and very needed thing in our society. I was just having a little fun with you. That's all, man.
Yeah, as a matter of fact, a lot of the students were quite amazing. There was, it was tough to get into school. I got in basically on my singing, because I remember them telling me that if my acting and singing, I did a pop song, because my dancing was non-existent. I'm not a good dancer. Don't think I'll ever will be. And they had terrific dancers that were very talented. So yeah, as far as music theater, Sheridan was king, and so I left there, and I started getting attached to this lady who was in TV and had made promises. And again, I was finding myself codepending on someone else instead of depending on myself. Right.
Yeah. And then you got into college, and things actually started going quite well for you in your studies, and everything seemed to turn around, correct?
Well, when I left, I was doing really well in college. When I left college, I got together with a friend, and we ended up creating some music. And I ended up, long story short, I ended up in Warner Music's office. I took a chance against all odds. I went down to Warner. I wouldn't leave the building, and I ended up in their office. And Steve Blair, director of A&R, took an interest in me. And I thought this was it. The papers had written about me, and I had, a lot of attention. My birthday comes along, 9/11.
Mm-hmm.
The planes hit the building, and so did my career. Because I from that point on, they dropped me, and they didn't pursue what they said they were going to pursue. And I think I went back into acting, but my depression again hit me really hard.
Mm-hmm.
And I started realizing, you know what, I've got to take control of myself, because depression is so powerful. And, I just want people to know that, you're certainly not alone, because depression, it hits a lot of us. And when it does, it's so brutal. And it takes a lot of willpower to be able to talk yourself into pursuing, having no fear. And that's what I had to try to do slowly.
Mm-hmm. Cool, man. Yeah, it's a tough road. So when I think we might have gotten a little ahead here. When you were in college, you were with someone, correct? Now this was before the woman you're talking about now, correct?
Right. Yeah.
Right.
I had met
when you were in college, you were doing well, and you met someone, and things were going really well, and then that ended.
Yes.
And then what happened there?
Well, I thought I was doing well, emotionally. I was doing well academically, but emotionally I wasn't doing well, because the first thing I did was get myself a girlfriend. It was like, I got to get myself a girlfriend.
First things
and
first.
So first thing, it was like I was in there, and I connected with this one girl, very pretty girl, who we got on really well, and we were together for 4 years. I thought she was the one for me, and we were so close. And she started getting into the business of music more and more, and met a manager, and our relationship came to an end. And that was probably one of the worst times of my life. I honestly felt like I'd want to, wake up and, I'd want a bus to hit me and take me out of this life. I mean, I could never take myself out. I just could never do it. But I was hoping that something would. That's how bad it was. And then I realized that, sure, it's going to hit you hard, but this is really hitting me hard. And
so what did you do to cope with that? Like in the moment and in the weeks following, how did you get through?
Well, I was terrified of drugs, so I never went to drugs. I just was terrified of drugs. I just was against drugs.
And why is that? What put that terror in you? You've mentioned that a few times now. Why so scared?
Because I was always somebody who took care of my body, and I always was very conscious of my physical body, and I didn't want anything to ruin or mess around with my body, in that way. Now, I know alcohol messes around with your body, but for some reason, alcohol was like an exception, because Italians, we drink wine all the time. It's normal. It's not seen that way. So I suppose that drug, because alcohol is a drug, I didn't view it the same way.
Right.
So, but I remember, specifically doing a movie called A Secret Cross. It was an independent feature film that I managed to get some money for, and I produced, wrote it, and I did it. And I remember being on set, and I remember the director saying to me, Anthony, your character smokes, and man, you look terrible smoking. You don't look like you're smoking. Mm-hmm. So I said to him, well, I'll learn how to smoke. And he said, okay. So I learned how to smoke.
Is this recently after the breakup?
This was a few years after the breakup. Several years after the breakup, in my late 20s. And I remember, okay, I'm going to learn how to smoke.
Okay.
So I learned how to smoke. And I remember it was awful at first. I thought it was just, I said, who does this? Who can do this? So here I am. Well, it got to the point where I wouldn't do a scene without smoking. It was
so you started to like it.
Yeah, it was like I was director, so I'd say, okay, this scene here, I'm smoking. But it's not on the page. Well, it is now. Well, that scene there, he's walking, but he's smoking too. And okay, and I'm smoking in every damn scene. Every scene I'm smoking, So so we're at a bar, the movie's over, and we're at a bar, and I told my cousin, can I have a cigarette? I got to keep up the smoking for the film. And I remember him saying, the film is over. And I realized I was addicted. Mm-hmm. And I couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe it. So it took me 2 weeks to cut that habit out. And it was then when I realized how powerful an addiction can be. It's just so much more powerful than I think anyone really knows unless they've tried it,
Yeah. So you finish this movie. How long was it until you met the woman that had the TV show? And was there women was there women in the interim?
Was there women in what?
In the interim, like between the breakup in college, you go on a couple of years, you do the movie. Is there a lot of women in that interim, or how did that look for you?
There were a few. There were a few that I was dating. Sure, I would go on a date here and there. There were a few for sure. But
did you ever have any time, like any lengths of time where you were just single?
I did. It was. Yeah. I went 2 years one time without a girl, and it was a nightmare.
Yeah.
It was a nightmare. It was so bad. It was, even thinking back, it was really bad.
Just the loneliness, or
Just
you?
the loneliness, the depression. It was just, to
So
say lonely
yeah.
is just an understatement.
Mhm.
It was, um, it felt catastrophic. It was just awful.
Mhm.
Isolation, loneliness, just a sense of not being able to continue
Right.
in life. Really, it was that bad.
So
And
do you think that it was the need to want somebody, or was it the need to have somebody want you?
that's a good question.
Mhm.
That's a good question. Um, I think both. I
Yeah.
think both. Certainly was the need to have someone want me.
Mhm.
Um, However, I loved being in love. I loved having someone to love.
Yeah.
I felt stronger. I just loved. I could never understand guys that would say, "Oh, I got to be away from my girl," or "Oh, she's too much," or "She's hounding me." I mean, I could never get enough. It was,
Mhm.
I was the opposite.
Now, where do you think that came from? Do you think that came from like something in your childhood growing up? Like, did you have brothers and sisters?
I do have a brother and a sister.
So so at home you were never really alone, were you? You always had people around. There was, correct?
Yes and no. There were people around, but I often felt very much alone.
Okay.
Very much alone. Excuse me. Oh wow. Here we go, Daniel, with this.
We can't see it on our end.
Okay. Well, just there we go.
You got
Yeah.
pop-ups?
So to answer that question, there were people around, of course,
Yeah.
but I often felt very alone. My brother was. He was the kind of guy that had a million friends. He always had guys to go out with. He was one of those. He actually had problems with girls more. He wasn't um, like myself, where the women would be calling the house, whatever. No, he was always complaining about that. But he always had guy friends, so he always had somewhere to go. With myself, if I didn't have a girlfriend or wasn't in a steady relationship, which I tended to be in a lot, I was a lot of times alone,
Yeah.
and
I,
that took a toll on me.
and I get that. When I was in my younger years too, I spent, even from a young age, 14 years old, I couldn't understand. I didn't feel complete without somebody wanting me, without a girlfriend or something. So I can relate to that.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
so
And, mhm.
you go through this 2 years single, and then what?
Well, that's when I met this lady. I
And
was
how did that happen? Was that a work thing, or?
Yeah, I was always the type of person that I always created projects. I always created things to do. Like I was very proud of myself that way. There would always be something in me that would just spark and go, okay, get up and create a film, or get up and do something, do this, just do it. I would always be battling against fear. And so I just decided to, I had met this one guy, and I decided to do a film with him. And then this particular lady auditioned for the film, and that was it. I started getting to know her, spending time with her, and she fancied me. She was into me physically, but yet she played a lot of games where it was just basically this power trip of, you know, seeing that I needed her help, and she was attracted to me, but she wouldn't give in to me. And it was that kind of garbage that went on for a very long time. And I got addicted to that. I remember just always hoping that she was going to managed to get a part for me in a film or a TV series, and she would talk a lot about it. Nothing ever came through.
So you
And
are you suggesting that you put a lot of energy into trying to impress her, to get her to do these things for you?
I put a whole bunch of energy trying to impress her, and I also depended on her. I was codependent on her. And, you know, thinking back, it's amazing, you know, the lengths I went to for this lady, with no real payoff. It was, you know, she was doing very well, and, you know, but it was never, I was getting nothing out of it, you know, and it wasn't until I had a conversation with another friend of mine that changed my way of thinking.
So, okay. So would you say that she became your challenge? You know, you talked about you're always wanting to do this, always wanting to do that. And did it become all you wanted her to approve and to help?
Yes, I would say so, because I was used to getting my way with girls, you know, and I knew she was attracted to me, but yet she wasn't giving in. And I'm like, okay, I wanted to be with her, and she would be so flirtatious and beyond flirtatious, believe me. You know, I mean, you know, she'd be kissing me in a cafe, and then suddenly, you know, she put on the business face. So she was playing a lot of games, you know, a lot of power trip games. And I was kind of too dumb to see it, I guess. I was blinded by this. And it was, she kept my self-esteem up when I should have been building my own self-esteem. I was allowing her to keep my self-esteem up. And when I realized that this lady's just not going to pull through for me, that's when I changed my life 360. And I had a conversation with an individual, a friend at the time, who had told me, why is it that you can't seem to do anything without her? You're such a motivated, talented, good-looking guy, yet it's her. Yet whenever you go off and do something on your own, you're successful, but then you go back to her. And it just, something, you know, a light went off, and I went, he's right. And when
so what did that feel like? Was that like an instantaneous thing? Like, boom, the clouds parted and the light shone down and said, Anthony, here's your path. Was it like that? Or did it take some strength and some time to reflect on that?
I think it took time to reflect. I remember going home and I sitting in the car and thinking to myself, how has your life gotten better with this lady? She's not done anything for you. In fact, you know, your life is full of depression. It's full of, and the only way you lift yourself out of that is by going to her. There's something not right with that. It should be coming from you. You know, I always knew that. So and I remember the individual that talked to me, he was doing very well. And he was taking chances and risks, and I wasn't. And I thought, well, look at this guy. He's taking chances, risks on his own, and I'm not, depending on her and getting nowhere. So it just clicked that, look, man, you got to do something here. Like you have the capability. And that's when I decided to do A Secret Cross. To make this film happen. And I said, I'm going to get a crew. I'm going to get a cast. I'm going to find money. I'm going to make this happen if it kills me. And
so it became, I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. Not she's going to do this for me.
That's right. It's going to be me. It's going to be me doing this. And
this is my life.
This is my life. I'm going to do this, and I'm going to be successful one way or another with this. And I was. I mean, the movie won the International Award of Excellence at the LA Movie Awards. I managed to get an angel investor. I managed to get together a crew, a great cast. I shot the film. And, you know, no, it didn't win any Academy Award or make me a millionaire or anything like that. But it did get me some distribution in Los Angeles. And it did enough to show me that if I don't let fear stop me, I can do anything. I don't need to depend on her. As a matter of fact, she then went crazy and tried to come after me, try to come back into my life, because she felt she lost that control. And I felt almost empowered. And it was the first time where I was able to say, well, maybe depression will never leave me in my life, but I know how to beat it. And I know how to deal with it. I started feeling like I could deal with this and beat it and be successful and it not crush me.
So you didn't necessarily change, but you learned how to ride it, how to
I
overcome
would
it.
say, no, I would say I changed because I became a lot more independent and not codependent. So I completely changed that way. And I also learned sort of the tricks to dealing with depression. And, my ADHD disappeared. It's very uncommon for this to happen, but it disappeared about 80% for me because I started then becoming, I'd get like D minus in math. Now all of a sudden I was an A in math student and English, and all of these things were easy for me, where before they weren't. Even academically, sports wise, everything it was just like a miracle. And I that helped. And I realized that there's nothing wrong with taking meds because I did, what happens is your serotonin has a lot to do with depression too. So if you don't get yourself some help, sometimes it doesn't matter how well you can cope with something. If your serotonin dries up, it doesn't, you need that help. So if you get a little bit of help medically and you learn how to deal with things differently, you can be a whole different person. And that's kind of what I started to do.
So does the depression still creep in on you? Like, are there days where you wake up and you just don't want to get out of bed? Like, what do you do on days like that now?
Never days where I don't want to get out of bed. I get up sometimes and, often I have just creative spurts of energy where I just want to do things and I'm very determined. And as a lot of people know, I just go for it and create a lot of projects. And there are other days and nights where depression hits you and I just find I'm quieter and I don't know why I am. And as a matter of fact, it's my wife, Julie, that is the one that notices this the most and she can sense it. But I'm capable of just riding the storm. It's almost like being in a boat where the first time you're in a boat and you're a captain and the waves hit you, you're just scared to death. You don't know what to do. Now it's sort of a seasoned captain says, okay, just we're going to wait it out. The storm will die down. And when it dies down, we're off. That's sort of what it's like.
Oh yeah. So you've learned to breathe through it.
Yes. Learn to breathe through it. Learn to just know that it's not going to last.
And it's okay to not be okay sometimes,
It is. It is okay to not be okay. And it is okay for people to know. This is why I think you're doing a great thing, Daniel, with this channel of yours and with this program of yours. You're allowing people to talk about this because I feel that people don't want to talk about this because they feel they're alone. But the more people talk about it, the more they feel empowered to tell their story. And sometimes knowing you're not alone makes all the difference in the world. Absolutely,
it does. There are many, many, many millions of support groups in this world from different walks of life. The opposite of this is connection. These mental challenges that many of us face, they want us to segregate. It seems as though we get it backwards, thinking that if we stay away from everything, we'll get better, when in actuality, it drives us further in. Claudia is chiming in here. She says the opposite of addiction is connection. And I know many people think immediately of substances when they think of addiction, but it comes in many forms, and it can be in relationships. It can be, like you said yourself, Anthony, it can be addicted to being in love, addicted to wanting to be loved. And, we find that
in a lot of ways, depression is in some ways worse. Drugs can, take you over and kill you. No doubt, they can ruin your life. They can put you in places you never thought you'd be. And that's terrible and that's awful and horrible. But if you get help, you can overcome drugs. You can get to a point where you never take drugs anymore. Depression never leaves you. Never leaves you. You have to learn how to deal with it know how to maneuver around it, know how to strengthen yourself and not let fear take you down ever, become positive, but it doesn't leave you. You know, it's funny, Robin Williams said it best when he said, the scariest thing in the world is to have everything you want, money, your kids, your wife, your house, your cars, your fame, yet feel all alone, like you have nothing or nobody. And that's depression. That's a horror story. That's really scary. And for those people that feel that, it's for real. It's for real.
You know, I was having a discussion today with somebody, and we were talking about misery and depression, and how neural pathways are actually built that we become hardwired to not want to leave that depressive state, you know, because it begins to feel like home, doesn't it, after a while, you know? And then when we are challenged to break free of that little bubble, we're safe here. This is our little bubble, and we like it in here where it's nice and dark and quiet, you know? So it takes time to rewire yourself, doesn't it?
Yeah, for me, it was more like, I would agree that there's a lot of that, yes, that people feel that way. For me, it was more so, how do I do it? It was more like, how do I get out of this? How do I, it was like looking at a mountain going, you know, how do I climb this mountain to the top? How do I do it? You know, and you know, it was, and sometimes trying to figure out how is so overwhelming that you don't move. You just stay put. It's
like a deer in headlights.
Yeah, like you figure, okay, if I don't take a step up the mountain, then I can't fall. And if I don't go down, I can't fall. So if I just stay put, I'm safe. But then you look up and you go, but I want to get up there. You know, that you're stuck, you know, and I think the answer is, now you take that scenario, right, and all of a sudden you look to your right, you look to your left, and you see a bunch of other people with you stuck that are willing to go up. Let's all go up. Knowing that they're there makes you want to go up. Okay, if they can do it, I can do it, you know? I'm not alone. Yeah. I'm not the only one stuck. You see? When you feel you're the only one, then like you said, you feel safe there. Okay, I don't want to move.
Mm-hmm. No, that's an interesting analogy, and I feel in a bit of a way we sort of said the same thing with different words. Yeah. That's cool. So, okay, so tell us a little bit about what you're doing now. You know, you've found a wife. So, and you are producing another movie. I believe you're doing some acting. What's going on, man? How's it going?
Well, I mean, ironically enough, when I was doing The Secret Cross is when I met my wife. I was married. It didn't work, and I needed a new makeup artist, and Julie came along, and I knew right from the start that she was the one for me. I just knew it, and I've been with her. She's my soulmate, my rock, and my everything. You know, she's incredible, and I'm very, very lucky to have her in my life. Truly lucky, and yes, I've been fortunate. I was in Poland on a tour. I played the amphitheater out there. One of my, you know, something on my bucket list was always to play to thousands of people, and I ended up doing that and hearing the crowd, and that was just incredible. Came back, and now I'm producing a short film, which means a lot to me. It's called Repent. We're going to be shooting it May 29th and 30th. It is going to be great. I'm working with some really talented people, and looking to set up a tour for 2022 if we ever get out of COVID and get out of jail, because we've all been sort of dealing with, you know, a very scary situation with COVID. So I'm just hoping that it all turns around for not just myself, but for all the artists, because we've taken a big hit because of it.
Yeah. I got my shot. Did you get your shot?
I'm getting my shot May 15th. I got my first shot. And you got your first shot?
I did. I got it yesterday.
Oh, great.
Yeah.
When do you get your second shot?
It's going to be a few months, I think. I think the supply right now, I think it's probably going to be a few months, but that's okay. We'll get through. It's okay.
Yeah, I'm getting my first shot May 15th and my second shot September 4th.
Cool,
So
Cool.
I feel good about that. And I'm just glad to see that vaccines are getting out there faster. And,
yeah, man. Yeah.
you know,
We'll be licking doorknobs again before you know it.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's unfortunately a lot of people have lost their lives due to this, but you know, it looks like we may be turning the corner. I'm praying for that. We're turning the corner, and you know, let me just say again, congratulations on your podcast, Daniel. I'm glad you're pushing forward, and you know, after everything you've been through, you're trying to make a difference by doing this. You know. And this is what it's all about. You know, it's all about taking your experiences and trying to make a difference. And that's what I try to do too, you know. So.
And we have both certainly done that, haven't we?
Certainly trying to, yeah, absolutely. I think we have. Yeah, I think we have. I should be grateful.
I think they want to hear a song, man. I put the question out and I'm getting an overwhelming response here that
Really?
we should probably play a song. What do you think, man?
I'll play a song if I can, you know.
Oh, he's got his guitar just right there. We didn't plan this.
I mean, I haven't played in so long because just because I've been doing a film, you know, and it's
I'm gonna put you on the big screen. Have at her, my man.
Ain't no lie, I took a chance on you. Made the call, said no wrong, baby, it's true. Checking my time, checking my friends, checking on everything. Look at your photo, yeah, I'm going solo, you again. Driving out, burning up smoke in the tires. Meet you there over at the river fire. Maybe I ain't looking to score. I ain't looking for more. Just hit me with a kiss at the door. Stop the gas at the roadside Texaco. The place is a dump, done with the pump. Now I'm ready to go. Check out the blind side over on the right side by the Dixie lights. Send her a text, show her respect. Gonna make it alright. Yeah, driving out, burning up smoke in the tires. Meet you there over at the river fire. Baby, I ain't looking to score. I ain't looking for more. Just hit me with a kiss at the door. Driving out, burning up smoke in the tires. Meet you there over at the river fire. Yeah, baby, I ain't looking to score. No, baby, I ain't looking for more. I ain't looking for more. Just hit me with a kiss at the door.
Ow! Woo! Right on, brother. That sound good, man.
Thanks, brother. Thanks so much, man.
Hey, thank you for coming on tonight. Now, where can we hear your music? Where can we find it? What are you doing? Where can we find you?
www.anthonytullomusic.com. My Facebook is Anthony Tullo Music as well, and my Instagram is Anthony Tullo Music. So, and you can find me on Spotify. I got new songs coming out. Doing a show July 3rd on Facebook Live, and new album probably coming out the end of the year. And look out for my film Repent coming to you. Some of the festivals as well.
Deadly, man. Is there anything you'd like to leave us with tonight? Words of hope.
Just want to say thank you, Daniel, for what you're doing. And I just want to tell everybody that, if you're suffering from depression, anxiety, or any kind of addiction, you can beat it. You're not alone. Just through God's power and prayer and your own conviction, you can overcome anything. Trust me, anything.
Awesome, Anthony. Well, take care, my friend, and we'll see you again.
Thanks so much. Cheers, guys.
So, if you like what we do, if you support what we do, you can support us by subscribing to our YouTube channel, following us on Facebook and Instagram, engaging our posts, and joining the conversation that we have every week. My name is Daniel Unmanageable, and this has been Hard Knox Talks. Good night, everybody.